Our system, as it's quite widely known, some of us love it and some of us hate it. Some of us are even trying to change it. But just how is our system manipulated at our expense, and how deep does the self-gratification for monetary wealth actually go? Our system, this system that is around us, has its flaws. The Conservatives have made that clear over the past few weeks, and this has gone on for years. We appear to have separated governments. They say they're not all in it together, and that includes the corporates, but is that in fact true? The Nazi government were bad, I mean really bad. They killed millions, and I've said before, said so many times, that governments, people that we consider the hierarchy, have profited from wars for years and not just made a few quid, but exploited people as well, vulnerable people, and it just shows how everything is interlaced. We've all seen this picture, haven't we? Seen a little video clip. What you have to remember is this was taken before the war, at a time when Hitler was holding the British establishment aloft and placing it on a pedestal. Little did everyone know at the time how things were going to turn out. We all know about how the royal family, following the First World War, changed its name from Saxe-Coburg-Gotha to Windsor, just to distract attention from its German heritage. Well, you'll also be pleased to know, I don't know whether you will or not, that certain family members of Prince Philip, who is from the House of Schleswig, Holstein, Sonderburg and Glücksburg, were unabashed supporters of Hitler and the Nazis, apparently. But lo and behold, brother-in-law Prince Christoph of Hesse was a member of the SS. He actually piloted fighters that attacked Allied troops in Italy. But other more minor roles, if you will, were also connected to the Nazis. Baron Gunther von Reibnitz, the father of Princess Michael of Kent, was a party member and an honorary member of the SS. The brother of Princess Alice was a Nazi who claimed Hitler had done a wonderful job. Charles Edward was placed under house arrest after the war for his Nazi sympathies. He was sentenced by a denazification court, heavily fined and almost bankrupt. The former King Edward VIII said, "I never thought Hitler was such a bad chap." He then went on and became the Duke of Windsor after abdicating in 1936. Edward made this remark in 1970 when it was widely known that Hitler and the Nazis had directly and indirectly killed more than 40 million civilians and soldiers. One would ask what the real reason was for his abdication. Was it the fact he wanted to marry Miss Simpson, or was it the fact that he was cozying up to the Nazis? It was just too public. But who fueled Hitler's crazy plans financially? Who would have been crazy enough or even greedy enough to finance such an atrocity? Well, step forward Prescott Bush, the grandfather of George Bush. Now, he was a director and shareholder of companies that profited from their involvement with the financial backers of Nazi Germany. His business dealings, which then continued right up until his company's assets were seized in 1942 under the Trading with the Enemy Act, has led more than 60 years later to a civil action for damages being brought in Germany against the Bush family by two former slave labourers at Auschwitz. Now, I didn't see that in the news. I don't know if you did. Documents that were released in 2003 show that even after America had entered the war, and when there was already significant information about the Nazis' plans and policies, he worked for and profited from companies closely involved with the very German businesses that financed Hitler's rise to power. Now, it has also been suggested that the money he made from these dealings helped to establish the Bush family fortune and set up its political dynasty. Now, how else did you think the Bush family became so powerful? Now, according to an investigation into the released documents, there is no suggestion that Prescott Bush was sympathetic to the Nazi cause. The documents do reveal, though, that the firm he worked for, Brown Brothers Harriman, acted as a US base for the German industrialist Fritz Thyssen, who helped finance Hitler in the 1930s. before falling out with him at the end of the decade. And by the late 1930s, Brown Brothers and Harriman, which claimed to be the world's largest private investment bank, and UBC, had bought and shipped millions of dollars of gold, fuel, steel and coal and US Treasury bonds to Germany, both feeding and financing Hitler's build-up to war. But what other companies secretly profited from Nazi government policies and the war? Now this may well shock you, it certainly did me. Kodak allegedly was one of the companies that made a fortune. During World War II, Kodak's German branch used slave labourers from workers' camps and ghettos. Several of their other European branches did heavy business with the Nazi government. And as stated on the website thenation.com, Wilhelm Kepler, one of Hitler's top economic advisors, had deep ties in Kodak. And when Nazism began, Kepler advised Kodak and several other US companies that they'd benefit massively by firing all of their Jewish employees. But here's a little bit of information. Do you drive a Beetle? No, not that one. This one. Love it? Love driving it? Well, you might be pleased to know, or not, that Ferdinand Porsche, the man behind Volkswagen and Porsche, met with Hitler in 1934 to discuss the creation of a people's car. People's car, which is actually the English translation of Volkswagen. Hitler told Porsche to make the car with a streamlined shape. Like a Beetle, he said. And that's the genesis of the Volkswagen Beetle. It wasn't just designed for the Nazis. Hitler actually named it. During World War II, it's believed that as many as 4 out of every 5 workers at Volkswagen plants were slave labourers. Ferdinand Porsche even had a direct connection to Heinrich Himmler to directly request slaves from Auschwitz. And just one other one that I'm going to mention. Allegedly, Chase Bank. Now, a lot of banks financed with the Nazi government during World War II. Chase, allegedly, is the most prominent. They froze European Jewish customers' accounts and were extremely cooperative in providing banking services to Germany. Now, there are many other companies that are rumoured to have made huge secret profits from the war and the Nazi policy. Coca-Cola and Ford were 2 of them, allegedly. And that is only a snippet of our system. That is all around us. It is everywhere, people. Corporates profit from war and they love it. But just in case you doubt that every government, although they fight against each other, hundreds of civilians die, are in cahoots with each other. If you consider all the buildings in this country that got bombed and ports, Parliament wasn't touched. All the houses, certainly in the East End, that got bombed, 10 Downing Street, untouched. That would have been a massive coup for Hitler, wouldn't it? But just one more question. Why didn't the Allies try to stop the killing of thousands of people? They could have done, couldn't they? Because in subsequent decades, the Allied decision not to bomb the gas chambers in or the rail lines leading to Auschwitz has been a source of sometimes bitter debate. Proponents of bombing continue to argue that such an action, while it might have killed some prisoners, could have slowed the killing operations and perhaps, ultimately, saved thousands of lives. Everyone profits from someone else. That is the way of life. Whether we choose to do it at the detriment of others is another question. This so-called system is now ingrained in our society, and we are now so overwhelmed by it, some of us find it hard to survive in it. Me, I don't let anyone tell me what I can and can't earn or how much wealth I should have. And we in our house have never ever been affected by any recession. I just don't allow it. So long as we have greed and the desire to have more than the next person, I'm afraid we will always have events and actions from the people I have mentioned. We can either be part of it or try our best to push against it. Place your comments in the box below if you have any opinions about what is going on with regards to the system. Please do click subscribe and allow your voice to be heard as well as others too. I appreciate this is a delicate subject, but I'm just trying to describe to you the system that is involved around our world and how people manipulate it for the detriment of others to line their own pockets. Thanks for watching. Bye bye for now.